On, I did tell you that we are meant to speak to the CEO of the Small Business Institute, Mr. John Dludlu, because the Small Business Institute did release a series of 6 papers, or 4 papers in the series of 6, that is aimed at the promotion and development of small businesses in the country. These papers are particularly because of COVID-19, looking at the pandemic now as well as beyond. I have invited Mr. John Dludlu, the CEO at the Small Business Institute, to chat to us about these papers. John, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for once again honoring our invitation. John, tell us about this research that you have commissioned as the Institute. It looks at the 3 challenges that it has particularly found within the small business sector. Please do explain them to us.
Good afternoon, Diabo, and thank you for inviting us. It's been a long time. So we, at the start of COVID, we went out, we received quite a barrage of requests from our members and SMEs in general looking for help and where to get information about the relief measures that were available. We were bombarded by this, and then we set out to look into what are the practical steps that policymakers can take beyond COVID or during COVID to engineer a quick rebound of the economy. And we commissioned research assisted by a major mining company to look into areas of how to create an enabling environment for SMEs to thrive. Let's not forget that we are a country that has committed to an aspiration of creating 90% of all new jobs by 2030 coming from the SME segment of the economy. So we then published 6 research papers. They looked into, the first one was a review of about 200 international studies and local studies into the impact of COVID. Yeah. Just briefly, what it said is, it said small businesses in South Africa were dismally failed by all role players. Help came, but came too late. And help was difficult to access. Yeah. And it estimated that as many as 55,000 SMEs may not make it during the COVID period or beyond COVID. The second one was around digitalization. The quick point that it made was that we need to embrace the 4IR, the 4th Industrial Revolution, and stop being stuck on the 3rd Industrial Revolution. And of course, we know where we are now. Where we are stuck there because of 2 issues. The first one is the data pricing. Yeah. The second one is, of course, related to the delay in releasing the high demand spectrum. Then the third one that we released this week, let me just mention them. One was on formalism and formalization. Second one was on the role of local champions. Yeah. The third one was on tackling the disabling environment. And the last one was on the conundrum of localization.
Yeah, I want to zoom in on particularly the issue of localization. I know that in one excerpt you talk about local maybe lekker, but is it possible? I know that a lot of people complain that while we are trying to revive the local industry, but it has become nearly impossible as a small business person to manufacture or produce stuff in a way that is possible for your business. And at the same time, consumers also complain about prices that are particularly high to sustain or to even buy, because obviously the economic situation is quite different here and quite dire. How much did you go into that about the possibilities of sustaining a local production in an environment such as this?
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, this was the more detailed study. It looked into the 27 years of the post-democratic, post-apartheid era, and it surveyed the era of GIA, ASGISA, NDP. Yeah. Yes, and one of the sobering results that it came up with was how we are misfiring in this regard. Two things are apparent from here. The first one is obviously the very complicated, over-engineered system of government procurement. Yeah. And the assumption that SMEs are keen and have got the productive capacity to supply to the states. That's a misnomer. It's not true. The second one, of course, is that we've just been layering policy after policy, law after law, regulation after regulation on how to implement localization. There's a new thrust right now by the Minister Patel to set aside, to designate certain industries for localization. And hopefully that this study and our findings fit into that discourse. We also know that Business Leadership South Africa is planning to release a paper on the same topic. This is an important topic, but we have to do it right with facts and evidence.
Yeah. With the last couple of minutes that are left, John, I want you to share with our viewers about the kind of recommendations that you are giving to policymakers about what exactly it is that small businesses in South Africa need in order to contribute to a very, ill economy, as it may.
What we've done is we had a very good, friendly and cordial meeting with the Department of Small Business Development to table the findings before we took them public on Monday.
Okay.
And we agreed with the department that we need to set aside a half-a-day workshop to just go through the recommendations. But briefly, the recommendations are as follows. They are very practical. One of the things that we're saying to government, before you contemplate any new laws, policies and regulation, please just do an impact assessment before you layer up a new piece of legislation. The second one is we're saying to government, we're asking government to work with us and the SME community at large to run a red tape challenge. By this, what we mean is that we should ask SMEs themselves what works, what does not work, what's harmful, what's not harmful. And then, of course, the last thing that we are asking is there is a provision in the National Small Business Act for the establishment of the National Small Business Council, an advisory body to the Ministries of Small Business and Government. If this was up and running, dialogue would be institutionalized and SMEs would be heard.
John, thank you so much for sharing these views with us. Where can people get access to these papers, the 4 or rather 6 papers that you have published? Where can our viewers get hold of them so they can have a read for themselves?
They are available on our website, smallbusinessinstitute.co.za. It's
John Dludlu, thank you so much for always honoring the invitation from SME On Point. Thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. We really wish you well. Have a lovely weekend. That was John Dludlu. He's the CEO of the Small Business Institute, talking about 6 papers that are aimed at promoting and developing small businesses in the country. He does say that they've had a chat with the Department of Small Business and Development about the recommendations that they have put on the table, and hopefully the government and the institute, as well as the broader economic or SME sector, can work together to find ways that are practical, particularly for small businesses, so that they can help the economy thrive. That is all from SME On Point for this week. Do remember to support small businesses in your area and keep the rands and cents circulating in the broader economy. Goodbye.